Well, we met doing little theatre productions with a local community theatre called Ego. I guess we were both kind of writing at that time and into kind of hip hop. I think just started talking about how did we actually start writing raps together? How did that happen?
I don't know, because we'd always been writing individually, and I'd done a few open mic events, established a bit of a name for myself among, me and one other person, for doing just. I was the world's most famous sit-down comedian for a period of about 2 weeks, where I would go to the front of open mic nights and take my chair with me, and no one else took their chair with them, so I thought I'm onto something here. So I'd always been writing, and I'd always been performing poetry, and I think we'd had our own individual kind of things that we were doing, and it really was just one day. I think we just looked at each other and we were listening to we had similar things that we would listen to, and we looked at each other and said do you want to just rap together?
Yeah. I'd been writing raps for a bit, but not really done it in front of many people. I think I was probably still quite scared to.
Because I was really unsure what I wanted to do, but then when we had this idea, the first time I tried something over music and it clicked, that was the kind of epiphany moment for me. I remember the first thing I did was I wrote a 16 and I rapped that over a Tangerine Dream track, and then as soon as that gelled, I was like, oh, this is actually a really phenomenal feeling, just having that kind of...
Yeah, I'd been doing a lot of stuff a cappella for a while, just sort of on my own in my room. Merged.
Call me Ishmael as I travel, I'm unraveling this yarn like the knots in the fishtail. An old man in the sea, I let the gale fill the sail till I'm trapped in the belly of a killer whale. Yeah, whether rain, wind or hail, I will always be delivering like it's a mail. Message in the bottle on the quest with the holy grail. It's hidden in the hay bale or scraping at the bottom of the barrel like pale ale. Hole in my bucket, but I won't fail. I'll be dragging out the secrets of my tail like a frail snail. I'm laying a trail of stale breadcrumbs and leaving you to connect the dot like you're reading braille. And hammering the point home like everything's a nail. And there's a lot at stake, but this plot is not for sale. It's off the scale. All hail. Like I'm the first man who became an ape again, the alpha male. Props if you represent your host yard, but we'll never go far if we just float like a coast guard. A lot of rappers brag about so-and-so's the most hard, but no man is an island, so I'm sending you this postcard. You wish you were here. You wish you were here. Here we go. Great apes. Dear fellow great apes, the same traits that we ate grapes taught us how to shape fates and debated date rapes. We learned how to build walls but create gates, and how to put everything in little boxes but break crates. Estimate dates, calculate weights, and wait for our prey when we lay baits. And how to make a name and stake a claim for ourselves with cave scrapings and spray paints. And how to say grace and we serve braised steaks on clay plates, and we pray to our stray saints. And how to waste time but make space. How to rate tapes and slate taste. And how to trade places with our playmates and namesakes, but negotiate like we're not playing for the same stakes. And how to make haste when our prey escapes and lay waste to states based on race hate. Yeah, we try and save face when the pain aches, but we can't take the shame, so we blame snakes. And it's still only the dawn of the planet of the apes, but wow, what a difference a day makes.
So we did that, and then we thought, okay, but the issue is that we've got lyrics, but we don't have any music. So we went to. Do you remember the first time that we went to? There was a producer in Coventry that we went to, and we really had no idea what we were doing. We had this idea, and then 2 days later, we hooked up with this producer, and we went over to their place, and we tried to discuss what kind of music we wanted, and we were sat there for what felt like forever. And we weren't really clear on what we wanted.
I don't think any of us had any words or vocabulary for what we wanted to do, and we'd both just sort of be like, something a bit more. Yeah, and we'd be like, what, like this? And we'd be like, no, not like that.
I'd be like, boom, 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 and then he'd come back with some synth kind of,
So that kind of didn't progress very far.
No.
And we went back to kind of just being the two of us in our room for a little bit, and trying to work out how we would work with other people on music, and how we were going to even explain what kind of thing we were trying to create.
I still don't think we could do that very well.
I still don't think we do it very well. Has that captured it for you?
Until we learn how to communicate what we want, to try and translate what's going on in our heads into something that's, you know, intelligible to other human beings. We had to do it DIY. So luckily we know the guys at Ego, and Tim, who is the sound like wizard at Ego, had just recently invested in some equipment that I quickly started using, which was basically an SPD-30 Roland kind of like drum like looper, and I basically learnt how to play that just from trial and error and just hitting the wrong button and deleting things, then trying again. And I think the first gig we did, all of the tracks were produced on that machine.
They were, yeah. They were all quite, I think, compared to what you do now, very basic.
They
quite
were so
crude
basic.
Formations, very like 3 layers at the most of sort of some quite basic drum loops. And we just did all of our stuff over that, or a cappella.
Yeah. It's, when I was learning how to play that machine, I just became so absorbed into it that I remember one incident where I'd often go into the studio at Ego and just lock myself in there for hours at a time just playing until some other band kicked me out. And one night I was in there and I was really trying to work on this one track that seemed to be going somewhere, and I'd lost all track. I've never got any idea what time it is. And then I looked at my phone and it was like 11:45. And the place closes at 11, so they'd closed up and didn't realise I was in there because I would just come and go. So that I actually was just locked in the studio, and all the lights were off when I went out there, and I was just locked in the building. And I thought I might have a problem here.
That's how we get most of our free studio time. So that extra sort of hour where we get locked in, and that's the best work that we do. I apologise for the wrong that I've done, but I'm a suicide bomb blowing the tracks with the plum. If judgment day comes and I meet a god, I'm still reeling from the shock to listen to a talk, get sent down to hell, and I'm looking back up, watching all your feet trample me from above. It's like a glass ceiling just grew into form, and Lucifer whispers its illusion to taunt. She calls out for her archangel, who pulls out this fat book bigger than the Bible, ready to destroy my notions of Babel. I start to build towers in my head like a fable, this time diamond and much more stable. You gnats confused tongues to a dagger there's able. Rest assured, we keep sure to the core as we travel, always hold love in our hearts as a staple. Still roam the land splatter far like a paintball, kaleidoscopes of colour covering plains as the rain falls. Build a big school, educate the all fools, consume cactus on every full moon's for make a bright or a first priority. Rewrite history, antiquity and mystery into the future. We predict antipathy, a monastery of depravity, corporate media legacy, fear of atrocities, all increased hostilities. We jump this up before, but Russell Brand is a mouthpiece, a well-intentioned boy on a quest to hunt his world peace. So he meditates, holding focus to his heartbeat, embodying the faceless, conscious reaction, aware of an unconditional faction, pure in its meeting. Watching children speak on a concept that transcends humanosity, barely out the woods, but footprints dig deep. Our tools evolve before we could just be not being cheesy, but I think I'm on a path, so there is no end, because the journey is the answer. Because the journey is the answer, there is no end. At this point, there's a cough from an angel. She'd been trying to stall while she found a page to recall the gospel of how I'm culpable, insufferable, rough in school, kicking up a shitstorm. The story of how this creature was born until mother didn't know what was in store. A lifelong burden running circles like a whirlpool. Then there's a flutter from the upper balcony stools. The angels usher forth and gather in a circle. Take a deep breath as one, just as the bass falls. Build a big school, educate the all fools. Consume cactus on every full moon's full. Build a big school, educate the all fools, and consume cactus on every full moon's full. Just as the bass falls.
What I think about the topics for my lyrics is that the topics are quite topical and sometimes lyrical.
On occasion.
Occasionally. Somebody else asked me this recently, and I just thought, I've just listen to them. I
don't think we have any limits of what we would or wouldn't write about, and it will very much vary depending on either something that will catch our eye. Sometimes we'll sit down with an idea or something that we want to kind of explore, but usually it's a bit more of a sort of free association kind of thing, or something might have just pissed us off and we might have just one line and then everything will just come from that. I guess in terms of our lyrics being quite quick and whether people can follow them and keep up, I sort of see if someone hears something that catches their ear or their interest, they'll ask us about it or they'll look it up. I always lyric caption all my videos because it's really important for me to know that if someone is interested in understanding what I'm saying, they can. So I sort of see it as the audience's responsibility. If you want to keep up, lyrics are all there, go for it. And I'll happily talk to you about it.
It's so subjective as well, because some people will say, you know what, I didn't have a clue what any of you, what you said, what was said. So I'm not very good with words. What you said was saying. I don't have a clue what you said. I don't have a clue what you said, but it was good. I liked it. I liked the kind of, I liked whatever I thought you might have said.
I think a lot of people read the general kind of energy that's being put across, or the sort of attitude that's coming out, and you can usually get in the gist of what we're sort of trying to get at through that. But a lot of people, I think if you've got an ear that's trained to that kind of music, people don't have trouble kind of hearing what we're saying. A lot of people, when I've asked them, they do say like, yeah, I can hear everything, every single word. And then there's other people who say, no idea what you said, but it was fun, kind of thing.
I think the best feedback we ever had was, we did one gig that I thought went really well, and then a few people, there was like a discussion among some people, and then one was saying, oh, I couldn't hear a lot of it, but I think that's because I don't listen, like you said, like I don't listen to a lot of like rap, so I don't really, you know, I don't operate at that pace kind of thing. And other people were saying, no, I understood, I could hear every word. And then I got told to work on my diction.
Don't ask how my day went, I complained about my payment. Payday's basically a way to make us celebrate. Enslavement is depraved. We save every day for the grave. We'll stay a paycheck away from praying on the pavement. Is there anybody out there on my wavelength? Have we really come a long way from the cavemen? They say we share a cranium, but not the same one. We like to see each other shame. That's entertainment. I'm sick of complaining, but I'd hate to be complacent. Still working at the bank, exaggerating statements, and I can't anticipate a date. I'm gonna make the late rent. If it can't wait, I'll relocate to the basement. Vacant accommodation, no impatient obligations. I don't need a space station, just somewhere to save my bacon. A place that I can masturbate if that isn't too blatant, and a room of one's own without any reservations. Listen up, all I hear are tire spins and sirens, and no one gives a shit unless they're counting dry runs. And now we've made guns out of fire hydrants. When will we stop giving funds to our tyrants? Meanwhile, Poseidon hides his tridents, fetch the violins, but the victims of its violence. They sell us lies to dehumanize the migrants who die fighting for the right to try and find asylum. And life's priceless, unlike oil and diamonds. The blind lead the blind without any kind of guidance. Ill-defined divide isn't what either side wants. I'd rather lose my rapping license and sit by in silence. Who's to decide if we only live and die once? We could all be stars climbing into our alignments, escaping our environments. But Simon says, just be quiet and acclimatise yourself to your confinements.
I guess don't try and write about something you don't want to write about just for the sake of writing about it.
Don't write about it because you think it's relevant, or it's in the news, or you think it's going to get a lot of hits on YouTube or something because it's popular or accessible. I guess what's hot for us to write about will be whatever's authentic to us in that moment, whatever's coming out.
A lot of the time it'll be like, if you like reading something, like I was reading this book called Sapiens, and then I started writing this thing which is like just about being like an ape, being like just like a member of this family, and the kind of like, you know, just stuff like that. And that was based mainly on just that kind of idea. I had this one image of something I saw on the news, which was some kettling incident where there was some protest, and the police had kettled some protesters. And in my mind, it was very vivid because what I kind of saw was just like one group of apes wearing one, you know, fancy dress, putting sheets of metal around another group of apes wearing slightly different costumes. And I thought, it's just like, if you were, what kind of one thing that really kind of like has always stuck with me ever since I read those poems by, what's his name, something Rain, the Martian sends a postcard home. Have you ever heard of that? It's some poems where it's about like an alien that is on Earth, and he's writing, describing how he sees things and like how it makes sense to him. So like he talks about like TV static being like rain or being like snow or something like that. So I often think like, you know, whenever I describe something, it's kind of like, what would it look like to
it's really
this kind of consciousness, like different kinds of consciousness maybe.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing that you said, because just before you got to the thing about the poem, I was thinking the way that I'll try and put things across will be that kind of, what if an alien civilization saw this behaviour for the first time, and what would it look like, these kind of carbon forms and these kind of, these odd sort of fancy dress outfits, and kind of almost like deconstructing behaviour to kind of bring it down to the base of like, what are we really doing and why are we doing that, and what's the social function that serves. I look at things maybe in a way that a lot of people would see as almost a little bit on the Asperger's spectrum, where I see a lot of human behaviour as just kind of fluff or sort of social interactions as a tool to bond, whereas I like to just cut past all of that and go straight in. So I think I tried to do that maybe with our lyrics and the way that they come across, is to kind of try and get someone to look at it in that same way, of take off those surface layers and be like, what are these crazy apes doing?
More lies than the Colosseum. My moods is changeable as the 4 seasons. And I ain't talking fancy seasoning neither. A spring lamb, vulnerable, and I need ya. Open flower, a vagina in treat your foliage changes colour as the sun starts to leave us. A she-wolf in winter out hunting to feed ya. When I return, gather for the storytelling procedure. I only speak a little bit of Greek and hierarchy and logos. See? The beginning was the number, the reason, and the speech. I'm a star child out on a space odyssey, going out into the cosmos to find gravity, beaming back revelation to a tribe called humanity, residing in the system in the Milky Way galaxy. I tell them everything's gonna be just chocolatey, but we can't just eat sweets. We gotta take our broccoli, less salty beef, and we got to talk properly. Less of the self, a little we, and community. Mean greens for kids in need of nourishing, vitamins from courage and gently touching, knowledge foraging. A little modesty and a seed of self-belief. Self being the I, the we, and the thing in between. Here's my 2016 manifesto policy. I'ma be inspiring, just delighting. I ain't gonna sleep until I'm struck by lightning. Here takes God, I wasn't invited. Even then I would be sky igniting, illuminating the land. UFO sighting, go bulls out, al fresco dining. A campaign piece will start the liking. I just had an epiphany. I'm like the white DF, motherfucking D. Littering my lyrics with ecstasy. Bags of weed, whiskey, and Asian chic. Chinese, Taiwanese, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Malaysian, Thai, Vietnamese, but don't define boundaries, I'm internationalese. I transcend time, ancient Egypt to a Mars colony. The Roman Empire, wine bath and sex per diem. The Mayans writing sisters making future predictions. The Incas of South America were the brothers and sisters. The Ottomans are slaves, ways of poetry were written. Aztec, end times, in the sun of movement. Mongols, largest in terms of land acquisition. American superpower, not in the medal, uno position. British imperialism still influencing tradition.
But in the past, the masters would outlast the seat they sat in. Ever since it's happened, I've noticed the pattern. Fuck who let the dogs out, everybody wanna know who let this cat in. How else can I say it? I only speak a little bit of Latin, but I'm the young come drown, there's a war rule against all. Everybody feels the need to question these credentials. They think I just scratch my ass, sketching pencils, stretching stencils, but I'm cooking up a storm and they're just stirring lentils. Gangster rappers like GTA, if all the cars are rentals. I don't listen to your words, I download your instrumentals. You think because it's popular you must be influential. Post-hoc I go rock the hop, ha, how coincidental. In the past the masters would outlast the seat they sat in. Ever since it's happened, I've noticed the pattern. Fuck who let the dogs out, everybody wanna know who let this cat in. How else can I say it? Cause I only speak a little bit of Latin.
I've more lies than the Colosseum. My moods is changeable as the 4 seasons. And I ain't talking fancy seasoning neither. A spring lamb, vulnerable, and I need ya. Open flower, a vagina in treat your foliage changes colour as the sun starts to leave us. A she-wolf from winter out hunting to feed ya. When I return, gather for the storytelling procedure.
We usually write our own pieces separately, or we might start with an idea of, shall we try and work together on a piece about this, and we'll usually go separately, work on our own kind of ideas, our own bars, get together what we're doing, and then work on putting those together if they fit.
I think we write very differently.